Okay. I'm sorry I'm not as attractive as Father Mike Schmitz. Hi everyone, my name is Matt Fradd and welcome to my very first YouTube video. And I plan on doing these every week with Ascension Presents, and I'm glad that you're here, or there, or wherever. Today I want to share with you a little bit about myself and the hopes that I have for this video channel. I want to discuss stuff that I find interesting. Stuff like philosophy, argumentation, Thomas Aquinas, I love Thomas Aquinas, the Catholic faith, growing in virtue, stuff like that. So if that sounds interesting, I'm glad that you're here. If it doesn't, you might want to go click on another video. Today I want to share with you 7 things that I love, because I feel like if you want to get to know somebody, it helps to know what they love. And so I've written down 7 things that I love, and then I want you to tell me what you love in the comment section below so I can get to know you, my viewershipness, a little bit more. I'm using the word love loosely here, okay? Because when I say stuff like, I love bourbon, and then I say, and I love my wife, I obviously mean love in a different sense, okay? Number 1, I love coffee. If you don't, I don't trust you. Maybe I believe you, but if I believe you, I certainly don't trust you. It's a weird thing not to love coffee. Sometimes I find myself looking forward to going to sleep because I know I'll wake up and there will be coffee. The second thing that I love is surfing. Now I know what you're thinking, you're from Australia, of course you love surfing, but I actually didn't learn how to surf in Australia. The first time I ever really got serious about surfing was when I lived in San Diego. I lived there for about 3 years while I worked for Catholic Answers. And about once or twice a week, I would wake up super early before work, strap the surfboard to my car and drive down to La Jolla Shores and just learn how to surf. And absolutely an amazing experience. I remember one morning in particular, after having surfed for about an hour or so, I got out, there was this taco truck that had arrived in the parking lot. I got a fish taco, because it was San Diego, you have to get a fish taco. And I sat on the grass by my surfboard. And you know what it's like, when men get out of the ocean, there's nothing attractive about it. You know, like snot, wedgie, all that stuff was happening. But I don't remember ever being so happy. It's funny, Thomas Aquinas once said somewhere, he said there is no doubt that the intellectual pleasures far exceed the sensual pleasures. But Thomas Aquinas never had a fish taco after going for a surf in San Diego. Am I right? The third thing that I love is philosophy. I have both my undergraduate and master's degrees in philosophy. And some of my favorite philosophers, I really love to read Plato. If you've never read philosophy, Plato is actually a good place to start. He's not very difficult. He's written about 35 or thereabouts Socratic dialogues. So Socrates was his teacher. Socrates never wrote anything, but Plato wrote about all the arguments that Socrates got into with the sophists around Athens, and it's super fun. I also like the writings of Blaise Pascal, St. Augustine, even Friedrich Nietzsche. He's a very good writer, one of the few philosophers that can actually write. And of course, Thomas Aquinas. I actually have a geeky philosophy podcast called Pints with Aquinas, and I'm a big fan. Sometimes people will say, well, he wasn't a true philosopher because Thomas Aquinas was just a medieval monk and he was under the thumb of the church, so he was really just doing theology. But that's not true at all, you know. Perhaps the most popular argument for the existence of God, at least in the Christian tradition, up until that time, was put forward by Anselm, and that was the famous ontological argument. And Aquinas disagrees with it. He's like, no, it doesn't work. So he was clearly a free thinker and a very clear thinker. So a big fan of Thomas Aquinas as well. The fourth thing that I love, I had to look down, is my bride. I know, I had to remind myself. No, I really do love my wife. Now I know what you're thinking, you're just sucking up. Well, perhaps I am, but shut up. No, I really do. She's absolutely amazing. She's my best friend, super cheesy, I know, but she is. She is the most clever, humble, and powerful woman that I've ever met. Now, sometimes you hear the word humility and you think, oh, they don't think much of themselves. Actually, no, Cameron thinks a great deal of herself because she ought to. But she does crazy stuff and she tries crazy things all the time, and sometimes it doesn't work. And whereas most people would get super embarrassed, she's like, eh. Like she doesn't think about herself so much. That's humility, right? It's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. And so my wife is super awesome and I love her. The fifth thing that I love is, well, I love to read. So in addition to reading philosophy, I love reading fiction. I like Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment would be my favorite book from his because I never got through the Brothers Karamazov. I found that way too long and difficult, one day maybe. I love Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings is a book that I'm going to return to hopefully every year and just read at least sections of it. It's absolutely beautiful. If you've never read The Lord of the Rings, don't die without reading it first, okay? The very last few paragraphs of Return of the King, the end of Lord of the Rings, some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read, and it always brings me to tears. It's the part where Sam returns home after Frodo heads off with Gandalf. So if you haven't read that, whew. I also love reading graphic novels. One of my favorite ways to just relax is just to lay on a couch for like an hour and just read graphic novels or Tolkien or something like that. The sixth thing, now talk about a hard word to say, sixth. You say that a bunch of times and you'll not believe it's a word. Sixth, 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 sixth. That's not a word, that's a sound. Sixth. The sixth thing that I love is bourbon. Not being from America, but now living in the South, I love just the idea of bourbon. It's very romantic to me. It always has to be accompanied with a rocking chair and a porch and bluegrass music. But sitting with my friends on a porch, having a pipe, drinking bourbon, and just chatting about stuff that we love. The seventh thing that I love is Jesus Christ. When I was 17 years old, I had a profound experience at World Youth Day in Rome. I went to World Youth Day, which is this event that the Pope holds every couple of years. Millions of young people from around the country go. There was about 2.5 million people there at the time. I went as one of those people that mocked Christians. I thought Christians were stupid. I thought God probably didn't exist. And then I came home from Rome having encountered the person of Jesus Christ as one of those Christians that's so happy it makes you sick. Praise Jesus, shut up, I won't. And so my hope for this YouTube channel more than anything else is that I could say some things that would help you realize that who God wants you to be and is commanding you to be is in fact who you want to be, and that being a Christian and following Christ means not to suppress our deepest desires, but to allow them to come forth so that we can live lives that are true, good, and beautiful. That is what the saints were, right? They lived beautiful lives. It's the saints who are fully alive. If you want to have a boring, irritable, unsatisfied life, you should definitely be a sinner. Anyway, so this is a bit about me. Leave your comments below. Tell me the stuff that you love, the stuff that you like. Doesn't have to be super profound, just stuff you find beautiful and pleasurable. Tell me those things below. And also, every month I want to do a hashtag Ask Matt Fradd segment where I respond to your questions. So what you'll do is in the comment section below, type in hashtag Matt Fradd and then ask me a question, and then once a month I will respond to your questions. Thanks so much. I hope that was okay. What am I doing? What am I doing? Is it this one?